Hey everyone, Pastor Daniel here. It's my turn to lead our weekly devotional. I'm really glad you're with me today. You know, just a few years ago, I was a sixth grade school teacher on purpose. Yes, on purpose, by choice. I taught sixth graders. And some of you think I'm crazy for that, and you're probably not entirely wrong for thinking so. But I have always had a big heart for middle school students. God gave me that heart. In fact, most of my career in education was spent teaching middle school students. I've coached a lot of middle school students as well in my life. And even right now, part-time, I teach eighth graders. And so I just feel a connection with them. They're just kind of in this time of transition. They're in this weird space between just becoming young men and young women, and just trying to figure things out. They're just kind of weird, and they kind of smell funny too at times. And so I like to help them out. It's just kind of my heart for that age group. But when I was teaching sixth graders for the very first time in that very first week of school, I was completely blown away when I showed them this horrific device for the very first time, a combination lock. And you would have thought I, pulled a snake out of my bag when I showed it to them, or I was trying to teach them Greek when I presented this to them, because they were lost, they were scared. They had no clue, most of them, on how to operate a combination lock. And so when you're checking them out a locker, and then you're, giving them a lock for it, and they just have no clue. And it doesn't matter how many times I showed them how to do it, or how many times I gave them their combination. They would lose their combination, or they didn't know which way to turn the dial, and how to go past zero, or how to reset the lock. I mean, it was a crazy few weeks at the beginning of the year, because students just struggled to get their lockers open. And so I would be out in the hallways, and I would be popping locks for kids. Kids are crying, completely just losing their minds over their lock not opening. And it just did not matter how many times some of them, I could not help them. So it was just pretty surprising. Some of them would eventually get it, obviously, but I would see around the school throughout the year, some of them would just leave their locker unlocked because they just could never figure it out. But, I remember thinking about that when all this was happening. And it's just such a great illustration, especially, and I'm speaking directly to Christians right now in this moment, for us as Christians, that sometimes we view our spiritual lives much like we do a combination lock. And what I mean by that is that we think if we will just turn the dial the right way and hit a certain number, and we just make the certain combination of things, that eventually we'll be free. That if I just turn the dial this way, and I maneuver it this way, and I do this and I do that, and I start this one thing, or I stop that other thing, and then I make this promise, and I go to church this many times, I give this kind of money, this amount of money, or I read my Bible this many times, and we just think that we turn it this certain way that eventually the lock is going to pop, and we just have got ourselves convinced that this is what's going to set us free. This is going to give us this feeling of being, completely liberated. And so I think a lot of us in Christianity, when we think this way, it's very performance-based. It's living in a way where we think that somehow, some way, there is something, I can do to earn my freedom, or earn my salvation, or earn, my righteousness. And when we live this way, it proves to be very frustrating for us. And I think there's just so many Christians that are frustrated because we're turning the dial, and we're going this way, we're going that way, and we're just trying to work out all these combinations and all this maneuvering in our lives spiritually, and we're doing it for the wrong reason. We're doing it because we want to feel better. We're doing it because we want to, somehow to have some peace that we've never had before. And I'm not saying any of that's completely dead wrong, but here's what I'm trying to say to you, is that what if we realized that the lock's already open, that there are no numbers to turn. I mean, this lock right here, it's got 3 numbers, 31, right? First number, 31. Second number is 5. Third number is 35. This lock pops with those 3 numbers. What if we surrendered to the truth today that the lock is already open, that I'm already free, that I've already been liberated by Jesus Christ, that he has died to set me free. There is nothing that I can do to open the lock. There's nothing I can do to be more free. There's nothing I can do to be more liberated from the things of this earth. Christ has already done that for me. So as Paul has taught us in Philippians, we need to live up to what we've attained. We've already got something. We're already open. We're already free. So let's realize that the lock is already open. Jesus Christ himself said in John chapter 8, so if the Son has set you free, you are free indeed. That's John 8:36. If the Son has set you free, you are free indeed. Paul tells us in Galatians chapter 5 that we have, Christ has set us free, excuse me, for it is freedom that Christ has set us free. So we are already free. Paul says to stand firm in that. So today, I just lay it at your feet that maybe it's just time to stop turning the dial. That it's not about how many things you can do right or how many things you can stop doing wrong. You're free. And I'll leave you with this definition. Freedom and liberty. It's not the freedom and liberty to do what you want to do. It's the freedom to do what you ought to do. We ought to live for Jesus because we are free. We get to live for him because we are free, because the lock is open. Church, I love you deeply. And I pray today that you'd walk in freedom, freedom to do good, freedom to not earn anything, freedom to live in righteousness because of what you already have. Have a great day. Take care.